Hello and welcome to the final section of the CELPIP listening test. We are on section 6. So this is going to be theoretically the most challenging for everyone. So get ready, buckle up. It could be challenging. Get ready for the ride. Okay. So this one, as we see here, is going to be a 3-minute report. All right. Unlike section 5, it's not a video. This is audio. So we're back to audio. Only section 5 is a video. So remember that. All right, now that we moved on to section 6, there are also 6 questions that will be here. Okay, and as always, we can see choosing the best answer. Okay, so it's a report. So odds are, let's go ahead and take a look at our pre-listening section. You'll hear a report about a controversial bill being proposed to reduce jail time for prisoners. Okay, good. So we have some useful information there. So we know that we're talking about a proposed bill to reduce jail. Yeah, I'll just leave that up there. All right, so again, different note-taking strategies. 2 people, 3 people. Should you write it based on how many people there are? Should you write it based on pros and cons? What are the ways that you should write these notes? This one's a report, so I would definitely recommend chronologically. So from beginning to the end of this report, taking it that way. Of course, if you have a better way that works better for you, go for it. But just for simplicity, I'm going to do mine chronologically. Let's go ahead and get started. 3 minutes, so there's a lot of notes to be taken. Let's go ahead and begin.
A new bill proposed by Paul Carter from the New Democratic Party is bound to stir a great deal of controversy. Mr. Carter, who represents a project called Reading for Freedom, proposes a novel way to approach jail terms. Some prisoners would be able to shorten their sentences by up to 36 days a year by reading books. Inmates in provincial prisons in Ontario would receive 3 days off their sentence for each book they finish reading. They could choose from a selection of 12 works of literature, philosophy, science, and classics, such as Shakespeare and Tolstoy. But reading alone would not be sufficient. In order to demonstrate that prisoners have read and comprehended each work, they would be required to write an essay that must make use of paragraphs, proper grammar, and spelling. Prisoners' access to the program would depend on the type of crime they committed, and also prisoners' behavioral record after incarceration. The key purpose of the project is to reduce conflict among prisoners and encourage personal development. Though innovative, the project has already met strong opposition from politicians, law enforcers, and the general public. Many wonder how reading novels can genuinely prepare prisoners for real life after being reintroduced in society. They ask how reading Shakespeare could help the prisoners find jobs after prison. Finally, some, like Evelyn Breach, a political science student at University of Toronto, questioned how fair the system would be for those who are already disadvantaged. People who did not have access to proper education in the first place, or are not fluent in the English language, would not be able to read these books. This would be unfair for many Aboriginals and immigrants. According to Evelyn, the program does not give equal opportunities to everyone and could further victimize the ones whom the system has already failed. Chris Kendi, who directs the library system at penitentiaries in Ontario, is more optimistic about the project and says the main strength of the program is that it can change the prisoner's viewpoint. He says an inmate can leave prison more bitter and knowledgeable about crime, or enlightened by the world and the meaning of life. He adds that in his 20 years of experience working in prison libraries, he has seen books absolutely change people's lives, and he truly believes this program will do just that. The first reading of the provincial legislature is scheduled for Thursday, and the debate will continue in the weeks to come, when representatives from the general public and different branches of government are consulted. If the bill passes, it will come into force as early as next year across the province.
All right. Okay, so as you can see, my notes are pretty intense for 3 minutes. realistically, are you guys going to take this amount of notes for a 3-minute thing? Absolutely not. Okay, unless you have the hand of God, right? So don't be intimidated by the amount of notes I take. Right, this is just to help you guys also see if I write a bunch of gibberish for this, you wouldn't be able to understand it as well. So I tried to make it a little bit more easy. A way that we could do this without writing so much is doing a lot more shorthand. So practically I could do that where instead of writing like reading for freedom, I could write RDG for freedom, something like that, right? So there are lots of ways to shorten how much you write, but make sure that you always understand what you're writing in your notes, okay? So just for the sake of this, the notes are quite long, but realistically, am I expecting you all to write such long notes on a piece of paper with pencil in 3 minutes? Probably not, but that's perfectly okay. All right, so there's no expectations in terms of that for you guys, so don't worry. Let me get this organized for us so we can read it well. All right, stretch this, good. Okay, so before we move on, let's go ahead and make sure that we have an understanding of the main idea as well as the problem and the solution. I would say the main idea is part of the problem and solution, which would be that they want to introduce, as we already saw, a proposed bill to reduce jail sentences. How? They're talking about reading books, and for every book that they read, they get 3 days off of their prison sentence, right? So 3 days off each prison sentence, and then they also have to write an essay for it, okay? This is not everyone accepting it. There's a lot of controversy for it. However, on Thursday, the bill will be proposed or discussed or something like that again, okay? So that's the general idea that I got from it. Let's make sure that we are able to answer these questions correctly. So let's go ahead and look at it and discuss how to answer these questions. Oh, there we go. All right. So we have 6 questions, as we already saw. So first of all, the first question says, this is a story about a blank. All right, the first question is almost always going to be a general idea question, just like this one. So as long as you understand the general idea of the story, you should be able to answer this. Is it about a law that forces prisoners to read books? I would say the key word here is going to be forces. Okay, so is it a law about prisoners reading books? Yes, but does it force them to read books? No. So I'm going to rule that one out because of that keyword. Proposed law to reduce some prisoners' sentences. That sounds right. A man who spent 36 days reading books in prison? No. Project that teaches prisoners to read and write? Again, no. So pretty straightforward. The second one is going to be our correct answer. It's the only one that really matches what we're looking for. Okay.